On the other side of Tallahassee, just south, even closer, was the St. Marks River and a place called Natural Bridge. And some Federals landed off the Gulf Coast near St. Marks, marched inland. When they got to this natural bridge, which is basically where the river went underwater, underground, they were met with the 1st Florida Cavalry, 2nd Florida Cavalry, and the cadets from Tallahassee, and they were sent back to their boats, thus making Tallahassee, Florida, the only Confederate capital that was not taken in Union control, which was by FEMA. Florida, per capita, was the largest contributor of Confederate soldiers than any of the states in the Union, some 15,000, and none of the other states had mustered as many into service. Percentage-wise, per capita as Florida. A lot of the units that are reenacting today are reenacting units from Florida. Many of them, the reenactors, will fall in with a company that maybe their ancestors were part of. There are some Alabama units, the Federals, a lot of the Federals that are reenacting today are reenacting as units that were here in Florida. So it's quite an interesting occasion when you can sit around with a bunch of reenactors around the camp and listen to them talk about the history. They know a lot about it, and you know, for some people, if you think you know a lot about it, you're going to run into somebody that knows more than you, that's for sure. It's probably the most extensive subject written about in all of history, including ancient history. I would think probably that 5 years of conflict is written about more than any topic in history. And the interesting thing is that the Europeans love our history. They love the history of the Civil War. Many of the infantry tactics and artillery tactics came out of the Napoleonic wars, but things changed during the Civil War. There were a lot of technological advances that we'll talk about later. Federal infantry. They've got all. That group in the middle, that's a group. They were ever in Florida, but they're dandy. I have both of those. I haven't had time. We're so busy. In modern terms, it would be called cross-dressing. Wearing the blue, wearing the gray. You can be a reenactor if you want. Over the years, many of the reenacting groups have sponsored new reenactors. They're usually commanded by a captain and some NCOs, maybe a lieutenant and an NCO, but mostly privates. And the units will oftentimes purchase extra uniforms and accoutrements and muskets, and for people that want to try the hobby, they can hook up with a unit in camp and talk to them, and they'll put you in a uniform, stick a rifle in your hand, take you out and drill you on Saturday, teach some of the minor movements that are required to perform in an infantry unit safely. And that way you can kind of try it out. It's like a test flight. lot of Union activity in Florida during this time, mainly just raids, usually from the coast. Florida was a very important state in terms of producing food for the Confederacy. They had longer growing seasons, so they became known as the breadbasket of the Confederacy, especially in the late war when the Federals took Vicksburg and controlled the Mississippi River. That cut off the flow of beef from the state of Texas. That's when the Confederate Army formed a group of units in Florida called the Cavalry. And the commissary agent took over, and they basically enlisted men and came into towns and took on small militias to form up these groups to cover and guard the cattle drives out of central Florida around the Kissimmee River Valley. They became known as the Cavalry. Now these cattle drives would start in central Florida and come up through the state to Payne's Prairie and along the St. Johns River. So they were often disturbed and confronted by federal raiding units, and with the hopes of taking the beef or at least dispelling them within the countryside so that the herds could not get to North Florida and put on rail cars to be shipped up into Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. You can see very clearly the battle flag in that small unit right there. I believe that might be the 37th Alabama, if I'm recognizing their captain. Those cattle drives continued, and there was an estimated 250,000 head of cattle that were driven out of central Florida and supplied to the Confederate armies. A lot of those cattle, if they didn't make it, if some of the cattle died, the people of Florida would scatter around and find those. Anytime they crossed the river, if any of the cattle were found, citizens would take those. It became, during that time, supplies in the civilian towns was scarce. When they make it up to Baldwin and Olustee, if these cattle drives made it to a railhead, then they could put them on train cars and ship them north. Another important resource that Florida provided to the Confederacy was salt, because salt was the only way to preserve at that time. There was no such thing as refrigeration, so all the meat, the pork and the beef, would have to be salted and brined to preserve and smoke. There were all kinds of salt works along the east end, the Gulf Coast, the east coast of the Gulf Coast, the Atlantic coast. And they would take the seawater and boil them down in big boilers and scrape the salt out. And that was another interest to the Federals. They raided a lot of salt works and destroyed them so that the Confederates could not use the salt to preserve their meat. That also affected the civilians in the towns and the small hamlets. There was a very large salt works all along this area of Florida, all the way up to Panama City, St. Andrews Bay. There was a huge salt works there. They were raided and destroyed. Sailors and Marines would come ashore from the craft that the Union would have off in the blockade, They would go into these towns and basically create mischief. One interesting fact about Florida, though, that there were a lot of Unionists. Even though Florida was the third state to secede from the Union, there was a large Unionist activity in the state of Florida.
Wow, look at that.
Yes. Some of the artillery that you're seeing today, the larger guns are probably Napoleon's. That was Robert E. Lee's favorite field piece. They would shoot a range of ordnance. The smaller guns that you see that are real portable by men, the battery could move their guns easily, were the howitzers. The howitzer was a smaller field piece. It could be broken down, the wheels taken off the carriage, the barrel taken off, and packed on mules. The larger guns were transported by teams of mules or horses. So horse-drawn artillery was the big stuff. And normally the artillery was a good ways behind the battle lines under normal circumstances because they had long range. They would shoot different kinds of ordnance that would explode in the air and throw shrapnel down, explosive charges that when it hit the ground it would explode. They had time fuses that would explode overhead. There was an ordnance called canister, which was kind of like a shotgun shell filled with anything that would rip flesh, and grape shot. Those were anti-personnel ordinances. Now each gun has crew members that have different jobs. You'll see one that goes back to the limber, which is that unit behind the gun. That's where they keep their charges, obviously away from the gun, because it's highly explosive.
I won't mention it again. I had to stick through my shoe when I came in, so that's the only reason I'm talking.
The limbers are most of the time copper clad, you know, and the gun commander would give, or the battery commander would give orders for what kind of shot and what intervals that they would shoot. What they called the powder monkey would go back to the limber, get the charges, bring them to the crew. You have two on the front of the gun. One's got a worm and the other has a sponge.
David, you still have the earbuds? Can I have them?
There's several signals misfired. That does happen. They can all fire together at command by the battery commander, or they can fire at intervals from left to right or right to left. What you see coming from the spectator line is the cavalry units. That's always a fan favorite. They're riding in fours, just like the infantry soldiers would march. and they come into line. Cavalry was used for reconnaissance, mainly. There were some big cavalry actions in Virginia and around Gettysburg. There were some, but for the most part, they were used to feel out the enemy, to find where the enemy was located, which direction they were moving, and what the number of soldiers was the count on how big the units were, how many units, how many divisions or regiments, and refer back to the generals. However, they did fight. Most of the time it wasn't on horseback. When you saw them line up here in front of this spectator line, they were in fours. What would happen is when they came in contact with the enemy, 3 of those 4 troopers would dismount. The 4th trooper would take the reins of the 3 horses and move to the rear. The 3 troopers would then fight as infantry. Well, they call that dismounted cavalry. A lot of the troopers carried pistols. Some of them carried more than one pistol. And if they carried a pistol, they normally would carry more than one cylinder so that they could reload on horseback. Because you can't load a pistol from scratch riding a horse. I mean, I guess you could. You might make a mess trying to get the powder in the cylinders. But they'll carry a pouch on their belt that's got multiple cylinders. Many of those were 40 caliber, 44 caliber, 6 shots, percussion, single shots, single action, right? A lot of the troopers carry carbines, which is a smaller rifle that they can sling on the side of their saddles. The saddles they're riding are not the typical saddles that you see in modern times. Most of them don't have horns. They just got a fork and a swell, and the swell is basically we call a McClellan saddle. Now these reenactors that are riding horses, they can't just bring their horses out here once every 2 weeks and ride them. So you know they invest some time at home, keeping them trained and in shape. And getting a horse used to firing from horseback might be an interesting event to watch. Training one to get used to that. And not only firing a pistol, but a rifle, and then add to that being around artillery. So it takes quite a bit of devotion on the trooper's part to train a horse to be able to deal with the environment around them. So when this battle's over, they'll load their horses and trailers and go home, and then they feed them. It's not like a musket that you can go home and clean and put in a closet or up on a rack. So it takes a great deal of dedication and the love for history to be a trooper, to maintain the look and the training. You see this infantry unit coming towards the west side. I believe that's the 37th Alabama with a brand new flag, it looks like.
Here's some of them.
Now the infantry units, they're smaller, these small groups of infantry are formed up by a common interest in, per se, a particular unit or a group of friends. And as they go to reenactments, they come and they camp in their tents, they live in their tents, they eat in their camps, and they drill, they practice, they come out on the field, usually on Saturday. After colors here, there's a large drill field here, so a lot of the units will drill out here, and they go through all the troop movements and the tactics that are necessary for moving large numbers of troops from one place to another.
These were the early small.
When the units that fight infantry get together on these weekends, they will oftentimes have large meals in camp with families. And if you go through the camps, you'll see the kitchens that are set up. Now that's mainly a long-term solution during the war, because they do that. So as you watch the infantry units, if you can see them, there are a number of firing commands that are given to the infantry units. As they fall into the battle line, there'll be two ranks deep, a front rank and a rear rank. And they'll be given certain commands. The first command, and probably the most common, would be fire by company. And that would be given by the company commander or the first sergeant. They would be given the command load to the ready, which means they load their charge and they're ready, then aim and fire all at the company. There could be a command battalion, fire by battalion, then the entire battalion loads, and they fire by command, aim, fire. There's another command, it's a pretty common command, it's called fire by files, from the right to the left. Fire by files indicates to the infantry unit they're in two ranks. The first file, which is the guy in front and the guy behind him, one file at a time, right down the line, will come and fire and recover arms. The second file, and his file partner behind him will come up and fire. Then the third file will fire. Then the fourth file will fire, and so on, all the way down the line. When the first file fires, they recover arms and immediately they load and continue firing. That's one way that a company can keep continuous fire on their enemy. Then the company commander will call a ceasefire and possibly be waiting for a command from the battalion commander for a certain order. Otherwise, he may fire by company. Now, understanding when a company fires together, they're very vulnerable after they fire because it takes a minute or two to load and be ready to fire again. the difference between the weapons in the Revolutionary War and the war between the states was basically they went from flintlock rifles, which misfired frequently, to a production cap musket. Some at the beginning of the war